Welcome to the end of the world, survivors. You're tuned into the last voice on the airwaves, Harper, or as I've come to call myself, DJ Clueless, broadcasting from a radio station that still hums with life. I'm no longer alone, but winter is hard and the undead still roam outside. This is where we fight back. I'll be your guide through the madness, sharing survival tips, locations of safe havens, and the occasional existential crisis. The world's gone dark, and the dead outnumber the living, but there are some of us ready to fight back and to rebuild some of what we've lost. The only real question is, what's next? Stay tuned to Zombie Apocalypse Survivor Radio. Stick around if you're still alive. And that song was We Used to Be Friends by the Dandy Warhols. Back in the day, that was the opening song on Veronica Mars. This is DJ Harper, well, DJ Clueless, also known as Harper. And I'm here to finish the story of the siege on Malcolm's. And as many of you probably guessed, with the ending of last week's episode, all of the zombies' heads exploding just like cherry bombs could only have been one person that I knew. But I didn't think about that in that moment. I didn't even consider that in that moment. I just stared in shock. All of the zombies collapsed. All of them. I turned in an entire circle, 360-degree view. All of them. All of them. And it was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life. And it galls me to say that, just so you know. I cried. I cried in relief. I cried in confusion. I cried because my body was sore. My mind had been at war for days, and I just didn't have anything left. Jim let out a huge whoop of joy. If the man had a cowboy hat, he would have thrown it in the air. He did not, but I'm just saying it was that kind of good old boy whooping. We weren't alone. A lot of people also jumped for joy. The music instantly shut off, there was no zombie despair to fight, so there was no reason to have the music drawing in possibly more zombies. Although at this point, I don't know where the hell they'd come from. I mean, we at the plant had to use pretty much specialty equipment, in order to dig the holes to put all of the bodies. And we didn't cover the holes up because, again, lots of vultures, lots of carrion animals, but we we basically have a spot pretty far from the plant as far as smell, water contamination, that sort of thing, where we would take the zombies, the dead zombies. But I'm getting ahead of myself. After I cried and joined everybody else in whooping for joy, it hit me. The only person that could have done this was somebody I considered one of my biggest enemies. And sure enough, Violet comes striding across all of the dead bodies up to us. And I am left thinking, holy crap, am I going to have to say thank you to this thief, this would-be killer? Am I going to have to say thank you to somebody who wanted to steal my horses and who burned down the station? I was very relieved, everyone. I was incredibly relieved. I was incredibly happy that we had no more zombies to fight. But there was no way in hell I was going to say thank you to Violet. And so I stole myself for what I thought was going to be a confrontation. But she strode up. Jim gave a big happy howdy to her. And she smiled at him. Probably the first genuine smile I've ever seen on that lying traitor's face. And then she asked for Malcolm. And Malcolm came out and she said she wanted to talk. And he looked at me and she said, "If you bring the truth demon with you, I will burn down your entire place." And I thought, oh, good. I'm not going to have to apologize to this person who I do not like. Again, trying not to curse on this, you know. I don't know how many children survivors are out there, but they don't need to hear me curse like a sailor, even though in real life I do. I just thought, good. I have no love lost here either. Thanks. So, I heard about all of this secondhand. Jim went with Malcolm, because Jim at this point was pretty certain if he had zombies following him because of how many he has killed, then more than likely, Violet after this would have those zombies following too. And so they met with Malcolm, and the rumors were right. Violet has been basically torching zombies everywhere she goes. The reason she was able to explode all of their heads is she has had a lot of practice ever since she left captivity with Malcolm. Actually, may even go back as far as her stealing the horses and burning our place down. Anytime she comes across zombies, she lights them on fire, and she's gotten good enough that she can explode heads now. Is that not terrifying? Yes. The enemy of my entire world can explode heads with a thought. That's just great. Now, it worked in my favor here, and I am glad that Malcolm's place survived. Malcolm survived, Jim survived, I survived. The people who had basically succumbed to zombie despair within the next 24 hours, they all came out of it in varying times. We don't know if they would have come out of it if the zombie siege had lasted longer. If it had been weeks instead of days, because they weren't eating, they weren't doing any normal human functions other than breathing and their heart beating. So we don't know if they would have come out of it or not. We're in brand new territory here, but Malcolm's a scientist, so you can bet every single one of those people is being studied thoroughly, whether they like it or not. And I can't disagree with that. We need information. We need to know what we're dealing with, and we need to know how it affects us and how to stop it from affecting us. Because for all of the perimeter fencing and ammo and guard towers and barricades and machine guns and improvised explosive devices and other things that Malcolm doesn't want me to talk about, we lost. If Violet hadn't shown up, maybe I should call her Violent. If Violet hadn't shown up, we would have all died. And that's not me being melodramatic. That is the situation we were in. And I still cannot bring myself to be pleased with her or happy about it. But she told Malcolm that she'd been tracking various zombie hordes. She didn't explain how. He didn't ask. And she followed one here. And she kind of knew it was at the plant. And about the time she arrived was when she decided to explode all of their heads. And I don't know that it was done out of sympathy for us. I don't think it was done because she wants to make amends. If she wanted to make amends, she wouldn't call me a truth demon and threaten burning everything down if I so much as spoke to her. But it's good to know that she's as afraid of me as I am of her. So anyway, Malcolm was thankful and did thank her and told her that he appreciated that she showed up, and she basically informed him she didn't do it for him. She did it because she hates zombies and she wanted to take those zombies out. Jim at that point told her what the Pikers told me and what he himself had experienced. I guess his version of the zombie despair was realizing that he had actually been followed by zombies everywhere he went, and maybe he was the determining factor there. So they talked. Violet shared a lot. I almost called her Vi. That's what I called her when we were friends. We're not friends now, though, so she's Violet. She prefers Vi, so she's Violet. Yeah, no love lost here. No love lost here. I think that's pretty easy to say on both sides. Um, she wants someplace to stay. She wants to stay either at the plant or at the station because being with people is safer than being on your own. And Jim told her about the Pikers and that neither one of them could stay. If either of them stayed, they'd be putting everybody in danger. And she was like, but I can explode their heads. And he's like, you can, but they would be under constant siege. There would be constantly burning bodies. It would be better if you and I took ourselves someplace a little more remote to do that kind of thing. I think he actually took my whole Ewok village thing seriously. He said we need to find a place with a lot of trees or, a house on stilts, something along those lines. I think he was joking about the house on stilts because that would not work. If zombies can take out a fence, they can take out stilts. Enough bodies press against anything, it can fail. But, his whole thing was we need to find someplace high up, and if there are zombies around us constantly, they can't get us. So he convinced Violet to go off with him. Malcolm gave them the choice between bicycles with little motors that have like a solar power component to them or horses. And they took the bicycles because horses require care and maintenance a lot more than a bicycle does. With a bicycle, you might need a new tire, but you don't have to feed it every day. So yeah, Malcolm gave them quite a bit of supplies, told them about some different settlements he knew about, including one that is trying to just get around via zipline, which sounds pretty cool and fun to me. And Violet and Jim took off. And after they took off, we didn't see any more zombies. The zombies were gone. So at one point, Malcolm asked me, he was like, so, would you have let her come to the station? And I said, under absolutely no circumstances. And I am not the leader of the station. I found it. I broadcast from here. But I am not the leader. Queenie and Priya are the leaders here. However, they have given me what they call ambassadorial powers when I am gone. So when I am at the plant or I am someplace else, I can speak for the station because, they keep me in the loop and they know that I have what's best for the station at heart. And Malcolm said, okay, she saved you from the zombies, saved all of us from the zombies. She can explode zombie heads. Why not have such a powerful weapon in your arsenal? And I laughed and I looked at him. I was like, I could ask you the same thing, Malcolm, but you're going to have the same answer I have. Do you want a woman who can explode your head living in your place, especially one that has already betrayed us, has already tried to kill us, has already burned one of our settlements to the ground? Would you want a person that powerful, that unhinged, that unstable in your settlement? No, you don't. That's why you told her to go. That's why you let Jim from Seattle take the best weapon we've ever seen against the zombies with him, because any power she has against the zombies, she could easily turn on us. And I don't think she'd want to stay at the station if she considers me a truth demon. Like, I have no idea what truth I showed her, but clearly it wasn't a truth she liked. It wasn't a truth she wanted to see. It wasn't a truth she wanted to embrace. There were a lot of people that I tried that power out with at Malcolm's when he was studying it. And quite a few of them, whatever truth I showed them, they were kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. And what Malcolm said to me later is he was not surprised by the results. The people who had good self-awareness tended to not be bothered by whatever truth I showed them. People who had kind of crappy or low self-awareness were incredibly upset by the truth they saw. And what Malcolm said is usually whatever truth they saw was kind of his opinion going in. So, and I think one of the things that Malcolm hasn't done a shout out for, but I'm going to, any therapists out there? any any psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, anybody out there like that? The whole world needs counseling. Every one of us is going through a lot, and we all need some pretty in-depth counseling. Apparently, especially the people I showed the truth to that they didn't want to see. So here we are. So Malcolm and I were pretty much agreed on that. Luckily, Jim was able to convince Violet of the truth pretty easily because she'd seen enough and knew enough at that point that she was kind of like, nope, that tracks with everything I've seen. And, you know, some of the hordes followed her and she just sort of exploded them. But I think Jim was smart to grab her and to take off with her because the zombies are always going to be coming for him and for her. And, you know, she's like a zombie nuke, for lack of a better phrase. She can take them all out just at a glance. And, you know, by doing so, she's going to attract more zombies. It'd be really kind of nice if all of the zombies go after Violet and she kills them all and then we never have to deal with it again. However, I don't think that that's how any of that's going to work. I think that wherever she is, whatever zombies are local will go after her. But I don't know that it's going to be something that will solve our nationwide or global zombie problem. I do know that Jim's plan was one of the Dakotas, maybe Montana or Wyoming. What he said were low population density states that would have very few zombies to begin with and a lot of natural resources. You know, if he goes to Yellowstone, have fun, man. Hope the caldera doesn't blow and kill us all in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. That would be hilariously bad. Um, so Jim left. I stayed the heck away from Violet, which was very, very easy to do because she stayed the heck away from me. They weren't there long, just they got supplies and they left. And then, you know, Malcolm and I kind of did our post-game analysis. And, you know, what he said is he wished he'd turned the music on sooner, because pretty much everybody said the music helped fight the paralysis as well as the despair. But the biggest enemy wasn't the zombies, it was the despair they inspired. If we hadn't lost people, I'm not saying we would have won, I'm saying our chances of winning would have been a heck of a lot better. And as it was, if Violent hadn't shown up, we would have been toast. All of us. The plant would have been gone. All of the work Malcolm has done to figure out what's happening would have been gone. All of it would have been a waste. So I am glad that whatever whim motivates Violet to do the things that she does sent her our way. I'm not grateful to her. Exploding zombie heads is pretty much the most useful thing she's ever done, but it's also the most terrifying. And her hatred of me means I don't want her any closer to me than she wants me closer to her. So I do wonder if I showed her the truth of herself now, if she would see something different than when I showed her the truth when she was trying to kill and rob the station of all of its supplies. For people we would have welcomed into the station to share the supplies with. Like, there was no reason to steal it. It was just the four of us. We would have welcomed, you know, 3 or 4 men in. It didn't have to be a theft situation. I mean, I brought all of these horses to Malcolm, but I gave 2 of them away on the way here just because a couple people needed them. You know, this isn't like Priya, Queenie, me. We're not hoarding our supplies. We're welcoming people to join us and share them and help us find more and, help us plant food. So anyway, I just think that as far as our morals, our worldview, our outlook on people, Violet is not aligned with me, not aligned with the people at the station, and therefore not welcome. And what I told Malcolm to tell her before she left is that while I am grateful that she saved the plant and all of its denizens, she is still listed as shoot on sight if she comes near the station. And that's not going to change. And I don't even need to check with Queenie and Priya. I know they will be on my side with this, because a woman who can explode your head with a look does not need to be with people that she dislikes so much she thinks one's a demon and the other she was perfectly happy with killing or starving to death. Don't need her near us. Don't need her near us. And luckily, I think with Jim as her partner, they're going to get very far away from this area, so I won't have to deal with them again. But Malcolm looked at me and he was like, so what? No forgiveness even in the zombie apocalypse? And I said, nope. No forgiveness even in the zombie apocalypse. And even if I forgave her for her actions, I cannot forgive her for her intentions, because her intentions were to steal from us, if we got in the way, kill us and steal from us. And killing somebody when so many people have died is just the most egregious sin I can think of. I have talked a lot about Robert's Rules of Chaos, but one of the main ones is humans are in this together. We are in this together. This is a partnership of us against the zombies. And Violet did not recognize that truth and would rather call me a truth demon than recognize the reality that she helped the zombies with their work, even if she wasn't successful. So I think it's rather good that she's going to be now traveling the nation and killing zombies, because that allows her to be of viable service to the people that are left without being a viable harm to people like me that she has tried to victimize unsuccessfully. So I said to Malcolm, I was like, I noticed that you didn't invite her to live here either. He's like, yeah, but I've forgiven her. It wasn't me she tried to kill. And, I both like and resent that level of pragmatism. Like, nope, that makes sense, but I gotta tell you, Malcolm, sometimes you're just a rat bastard. And he's like, oh, I know. Yeah, I'm aware. He's like, my own sister has told me that many a time. I haven't met Malcolm's sister yet, but apparently she is pretty good at keeping him humble, at least according to him. So yeah, I'm alive. The people at the plant are alive. I made it back to the station without incident or zombie. I think these two tsunami level zombie waves we got, I think they cleared out a lot of any zombies that were nearby. So especially the first leg of that journey was zombie free the whole way, which isn't normally the case, but I will take the win where I can find it. The number of vultures that were feasting on all of the zombies when I left the plant was enormous. They had put the horses to work immediately trying to clear out the dead while they repaired fences, and Malcolm is thinking about stronger perimeter fencing or different perimeter fencing. He's actually kind of talking about building a wall, but, getting material for that type of endeavor is really the hard part. Although he has a huge amount of horses now, he should be able to manage it. So if I and the plant can survive thousands upon thousands of zombies, so can you. So stay alive, survive, survive, survive. We are mighty, we are strong, we are rebuilding, and we will win. So until next week, this is DJ Clueless, or your friend Harper. Survivors, stay alive. So many of us are rebuilding. You will find a home. You will find a place to be soon. Survive. This is Harper signing off for now. Remember, the world is still turning, even if it feels like we're standing still. Survive, adapt, endure. As the dust settles, we are rising again. We are rebuilding from the ashes. Until then, keep moving, keep fighting, and whatever you do, survive.